大丈夫。真ん中じゃん。何言ってるの？Skip it?
Skip the first one.
Okay.
Just go 1, 2, 3.
Can we please show our appreciation for our prelude this morning? When I would bring my daughter to church, she would just sit in the pews, but when Akane brings her daughters to church, she blesses all of us. So back by popular demand, the Ota family, we're so grateful to have you. Haruka, that was just stunning, and Yuki, we're looking forward to hearing from you later. And also Akane will be leading us in song, and Mark Sumner too, so we're blessed by incredible music this morning already. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, folks who are familiar faces and folks who might be joining us for the first time. It's wonderful to be together. Welcome to the folks who are joining us from our live stream connection. I am joined on the chancel by my colleague, the Reverend Laura Shennum, and by Christine Patch-Lindsay this morning. I am Vanessa Southern. I'm the senior minister here at First Unitarian Universalist Society of San Francisco. Thanks to everyone who is making our whole morning together possible today. So a big thanks again to our music team, to our greeters and ushers. Years ago at a training I heard, and I don't know what the science behind it is, but I heard that people decide whether they will come back to a church in the first 5 minutes of entering the building, which means they have not heard, unless they're running late, the music, the minister, but there's something about the energy in the building and hopefully the warmth that greets people that makes you feel like it might be a place. So I hope if you're new here that that's how you felt in the first 5 minutes, or if not, give us a second chance. Thanks to our AV team for helping all of our remote members and friends be part of us today. Thanks to the folks who are in other places leading our youth and children. To our agents of beauty, our flower team, who do such stunning arrangements to bring, and especially today when we're talking about earth, to bring earth in. There are lilacs up here, so if you can't by the end of service smell them, please come up and bury your nose in the lilacs. I want to make sure that anybody who's here this morning has an order of service so you can follow along. And if you are joining us remotely, there is a link in the chat, or if you are someone who's going to be joining us periodically, you can sign our newcomer form, and that will make sure that you get the weekly Flame, which is our Wednesday newsletter, which has everything going on at the church. And Friday, you'll get a quick other email that has the live stream link and the order of service in case you're going to be joining remotely, so you can find it quickly. So if you are joining remotely and you have any questions, there's someone on the chat. You can feel free to ask those questions and get answers. And I also just want to point out, as we do periodically, that there is a section over here on my left for people who want to wear masks, who need to protect themselves, immunocompromised or for other reasons, traveling to visit people who are immunocompromised. There's a fragrance-free section. There's a pet section, which is probably the most fun section of the sanctuary, and sometimes the most vocal part of the sanctuary. But pets do sometimes wander in other places. There's probably a dancing section. The badly behaved section is right here in front with Galen. There's a joy section really everywhere, a hard day section everywhere. Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about this gorgeous blue-green swirling miracle of a planet and ourselves in relationship to it. So welcome to worship. It's good to be together.
Good morning. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together.
I invite us to rise in body and spirit and sing together our opening hymn. It's the last Sunday that we're singing this as the hymn of the month, so you can test yourself and see how much you can sing without your hymnal if you like. Let's sing together.
Before you get too comfy, I invite you to greet one another. Look for those that you haven't seen in a while or that you don't know, and invite them to join us in worship today with a lovely smile on your face. Those online, greet each other there. Let each other know what you're doing today. Let us bring ourselves back to our space together. Our story this morning is a German folk tale. I'm sorry if that was offensive to the section over there. We don't have any German shepherds, so they're not represented today. So, our story is called The Root Children. Once upon a time, deep under the ground, the Root Children were fast asleep in their cozy little beds. All through the winter, they rested beneath the earth, while above them, the world was cold and covered in snow. Let's just imagine that, okay? Tahoe. Mother Earth, a kind and gentle woman, cared for them, making sure they stayed warm and safe. You see, these were special children. They were the guardians of nature and caretakers of all that bloomed and grew above the ground. One day, Mother Earth came to wake them. Her dress was woven from the greenest vines and covered in tiny flowers that only bloomed in the darkest corners of the earth. "Wake up, my children, spring is coming. It's time to go out and bring color and joy to the world," she called with a smile in her voice, beautiful like the rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze. The Root Children stretched and yawned. They were sleepy, but they were also excited. They gathered around Mother Earth, who handed out bright fabrics and paints. Make your dresses and coats so you can be ready to show your beautiful colors when the world calls for you. The Root Children got to work stitching and sewing, painting, decorating. Soon they had dresses in colors of the rainbow, yellow like the buttercup, blue like the forget-me-not, and red like the poppy. They laughed and danced as they prepared, happy to bring beauty and joy to the world above. At last, the day came when the earth grew warm and snow began to melt. Mother Earth opened the door to the outside world, and the Root Children climbed up into the sunlight. "Be gentle and kind," she said, "and share your beauty with the world." The Root Children spread out across the fields and meadows. They painted the fields with flowers, spread seeds, and transformed the earth with their lively energy. They planted themselves in soft soil, and soon they began to grow. Tiny shoots became tall stems, and buds blossomed into bright colors. The bees buzzed happily, the birds sang sweetly, the animals frolicked playfully, and the people smiled joyfully. All around, as everyone could see, as the Root Children came back to life, joy did too. So a reminder, we are in the midst of joy being recreated in our world. We just have to look around and see it.
Now, if you will, please rise and join me as we say together our covenant and sing our doxology. The words of the covenant are printed in your order of service. They are some of the promises we make to one another here. Let's say them together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. Every day is Earth Day for me. Paganism is a religion of earth, a religion of worshiping and working with the divine physical manifestation of the world. And I am a pagan. In my personal spiritual practice, and once a month in community, as part of the Pagan Interest Circle, I participate in or perform ritual. Pagan ritual begins with grounding, an exercise where one sends one's energy down into the earth, then draws up nurturing, healing earth energy into one's own body. The basic form of ritual, drawing a protective circle, calling in the four directions and the corresponding elements of physical life, earth, air, fire, and water, and invoking the divine, energetically creates sacred space. Sacred space is a place between the worlds, a magical space. And what happens there in ritual between the worlds affects all the worlds. Our world is Earth. I'm drawn to the element of Earth. I'm the one most likely to call in North and Earth, or to set up the North Earth altar. I have a personal relationship with Earth. You do too. Earth, Earth planet, Earth element, Earth home, Earth deity, Earth ground of our being, Earth soil, mineral, rock, dry, solid, rough, porous, moist, dark, heavy, malleable, hard, body, bones, dust, compost, life, death, dynamic, conscious, earth. Earth is the interdependent web of life, and earth is sacred. In the pagan traditions, the goddess has many names. We call Earth Mother, the goddess, Gaia. I view myself as a cell in the body of this planet Earth, just as biological cells make up my own human body. So naturally, it follows that I love and want to care for the Earth, my home, my goddess, my ground of being. Protecting Mother Earth is protecting my own survival. As such, decades ago, I began conserving water and recycling paper and plastics long before it was popular or became a San Francisco initiative to do so. I'm conscious of my ecological footprint and try to minimize my negative impact whenever I can. I haven't owned a car in decades and use public transportation. I check the labels of products I buy for harmful chemicals and buy organic food. I really try to walk the talk. I don't need to tell you the story of how we have arrived at the environmental crises we are now experiencing. I don't need to reiterate the current government regime's alarming actions to eliminate all environmental protections, including developments like this week's announced plans to mine our national parks. It won't surprise you that, as a Unitarian Universalist pagan, I'm also an environmental activist. I'm currently focused on responding to the Trump administration's repeal of the Clean Water Act, which protected 60% of our nation's streams and millions of acres of wetlands. This just happened, April 1st, no fool, this month. 55 years ago, on April 22nd, 1970, the first Earth Day focused national attention and political actions for environmental protections. Now, every day needs to be Earth Day. Why? Because I have a personal relationship with Earth. You do too.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for last week's offering for the Ministerial Discretionary Fund. We raised over $1,600 for emergency and unmet needs in the congregation to support one another, so that's really lovely and generous of you. Today, we share our plate with the UU Ministry for Earth. For 35 years, they have been dedicated to helping UUs work for climate change and justice. Over time, their focus has evolved. Their current mission is to be a seedbed for spiritual grounding and education that inspires deep practices of earth care, justice, and flourishing for all. Their vision is a world in which reverence, gratitude, and care for each other and for the living earth are central to the lives of all people. While they partner closely with the UUA, they are not funded by the UUA. For example, they co-led the development of the UU Climate Justice Revival, and they have created over 20 worship and small group ministry guides, all focused on climate justice. It is congregations like ours that make their work sustainable. Please give generously.
Thank you, Yuki. I listened to those a lot in seminary, so it takes me right back to my little apartment. Funny how music can sometimes transport you other times in your life. I want to do the reading before the prayer this morning. And the reading is a play Kama's Lilies by Lynn Unger, a Unitarian Universalist poet. But before I read the poem, I want to remind us of a few verses from the book of Matthew, chapter 6, that the poem references. In that text, the author writes, "Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not clothe you more, you of little faith?" Here's our reading. "Consider the lilies of the field, the blue banks of camas opening into acres of sky along the road. Would the longing to lie down and be washed by that beauty abate if you knew their usefulness? How the natives ground their bulbs for flour, how the settlers' hogs uprooted them, grunting in gleeful oblivion as the flowers fell. And you, what of your rushed and useful life? Imagine setting it all down, papers, plans, appointments, everything, leaving only a note. Gone to the fields, to be lovely, be back when I'm through blooming. Even now, unneeded and uneaten, the Kama's lilies gaze out above the grass from their tender blue eyes. Even in your life, in sleep, your life will shine. Make no mistake, of course, your work will always matter. Yet Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. I invite us into a time of prayer and meditation at the end of the silence that we will join in together. We will enter out singing one of our hymns. The words are printed in your order of service. Spirit of life and of love, there is so much to do. Spirit of life, of power, of truth, there is so much that is suffering or at risk. Spirit of mercy and grace and clarity. Life is demanding and confusing and hard and heartbreaking, even as it is stunning and soft and sweet. How do we move through it all so our lives serve what we love and wish to serve? Do we waste ourselves fighting off the threats to the lamb or the land? Do we throw our bodies across the doorways of offenders? Wail and grieve the wasting of our siblings of this earth? Or do we plant ourselves beside the lilies and sway as they do, in the breeze, delight in the sun, and refreshed by rain, grow taller, stretched away from the earth that holds us firm and grounded, and celebrate this life? Could we find a way to do both? To delight and to resist. To nurture ourselves in the elements and spend that rest in days that speak of shared destiny. That write poetry to beauty and simple things that don't require wasting what is essential and good. And fed by what grounds us, protect what needs protection. Spirit of life, how are we called to live so that we may serve what we love and do what we must? Into the silence that makes space for all things. Deep listening, offering up of what's heavy and the reaching out for what would sustain us. I call us. And in the silence, we're invited to hold particularly any loss or any grief that is alive to us this day. Perhaps a hand on our heart for those we love and are thinking of, or for sacred places we grieve. And in so doing, hold together the grief that is a piece of love. Let us enter into shared silence together and end by singing the words printed in the service.
For
Thank you so much, Haruka. Rootedness to earth ties back to the people who first settled the lands that we now occupy. Robin Wall Kimmerer, professor of botany, member of Potawatomi Nation, and author, writes in her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, quote, "In some native languages, the term for plants translates to those who take care of us. This," she writes, "is really why I made my daughters learn to garden, so they would always have a mother to love them long after I am gone." Rootedness to the earth ties back to the people who first settled the lands that those of us who are non-native now occupy. Rootedness to the earth ties back to the pagan traditions of Europe. It does so in ways that infuse our pagan community today and inform their practices, ways that Christine only had a brief moment to scratch the surface of this morning, but you can all avail yourselves of opportunities to participate in. It does so in ways that permeate traditions not labeled pagan, like the evergreens that many of us bring into our homes and hang on our doors in December. That's an ancient pagan ritual of the Northern Hemisphere in Europe, that when in the dead of winter, when there was no sign of green, of life, all of it forced underground into hibernation, a reminder of the green that would return in spring. And as I'm sure many of you know, Easter is pretty likely named for the spring goddess of Germanic paganism, a goddess of dawn and fertility, and celebrated at the spring equinox. Oestra, or Eostrai is actually how it's pronounced in Old Germanic. So we borrow all the time our Easter, of course, last week, just the day before spring equinox. In a recent trip to Mexico City, our guide pointed out some stones taken from old Aztec temples that, when they were torn down, were used to build the Christian churches that replaced them. But like such a metaphor, all these earth-centered traditions, both alive and present, and in the ways like the stones of those temples and evergreen trees too, woven into what was created from them, right under our noses. Our ties to earth are ancient and cultural. They are biological too. We not only come from earth, are fed and nourished, given air and watered by earth. Our immune system strengthened by the sun activating the production of vitamin D, triggering melatonin. All the ways that we are made and nourished and shaped by earth. It's in our DNA. Years ago, too, I talked in a sermon about biophilia, field of study some of you may be familiar with. A field of study that says, in other ways, we are literally wired in connection to earth, to want, need, love, be better and more whole in the presence of nature. Psychologist Erich Fromm coined the term to describe our human psychological draw to all life and all things alive. And E.O. Wilson, the biologist, entomologist, taxidermist professor at Harvard University, wrote a book under that title in 1984. "We are drawn to life," it said. And if there was a draw to life, greater emotional health in the presence of nature, as others since have argued, the opposite has also been noted. In 2008, in an interview with Nova's Peter Tyson, E.O. Wilson, revisiting his theory of biophilia on the 25th anniversary of the book's publication, said, Quote, "There's now a lot of concern, even consternation among not just naturalists and poets and outdoor professionals, but spreading through, I think, the better part of the educated public, that we've cut ourselves off from something vital to full human psychological and emotional development." Richard Louv, author of Last Child in the Woods, posited that children today suffer from what he calls nature deficit disorder. Anxiety, depression, obesity, all he and others think tied to a life of too much indoors, too much concrete and mediated by technology. Did you know that in studies of people in nursing homes, ones who were asked to just enjoy a plant that was watered and cared for by staff died sooner than people who were asked simply to look after and water the plant that was put in their room? It turns out plants aren't just the things we take care of, but they take care of us, as Kimmerer says. And life isn't just what we're drawn to and what heals us, but what heals and sustains us to care for it. Reciprocity with nature, in other words, is in our bones and psyche. "The land knows you," Kimmerer writes, "even when you are lost. Even a wounded world is feeding us," she writes elsewhere. "Even a wounded world holds us, giving us moments of wonder and joy." Reading about earlier cultures, Native American traditions, and even Aztecs with their monistic pantheism. Has anyone ever heard that term before? Oh, hey, we've got one person who's monistic pantheism. Well, for those who are interested, it's a belief that all life is one force, and that force shows up present in all nature. All these cultures were so deeply tied to nature and to an animated sense of the sacredness and power and relationship that nature had to us. A bit like the story that Laura shared this morning of the Roots children. It seems that in earlier times, the idea that nature was animated, that it had personality and presence and power, was so much more the norm. And nature is animated by personality and presence and power, isn't it? What you call that presence and power and personality is up to you, but it's there. We are constantly discovering more and more about that personality, presence, and power. The amazing discoveries that are unfolding about the wild world of mycelia. Perhaps the largest creature in the world, if we decide to call that interconnected web a single creature. The entity underground, without a brain, that does things like borrows nitrogen from one plant or tree that has too much and transports it to another that needs the nitrogen. Though it feeds itself on dead wood, so it's unclear how self-serving that act of care for a tree is, right? Or the world of lichen. I know, this is an exciting church Sunday for all of you. That over a century ago was blown wide open. It blew wide open, I should say, the notions that were prevalent in evolution that said that branches of life would evolve away from each other in differentiation, that our ideal in some ways then was to grow apart. And here was this entity that actually, it was discovered, was two entities, algae and lichen fungus, in this intimate interconnection, Merlin Sheldrake, in his book Entangled Life, writes, lichens quickly grew into a biological principle, a type of inter-kingdom collaboration. You'll never look at the forest the same again. In their relationship, both partners were able to make a life in places where neither could survive alone. We not only need nature, seem wired to be better in its presence. When caring for it, find it actually cares for us, but you and I need to allow ourselves to look and listen to the animation of presence and power and personality that's there and reawaken to it, even more always than we already are. It's gorgeous, it's fascinating. It awakens us, among other things, to wonder and curiosity, which are two feelings and movements of the mind and spirit that actually contribute to our happiness and well-being. For instance, I'm pretty sure I remember reading that psychologists said that it is almost impossible to feel fear and anxiety at the same time that you feel wonder and curiosity. So if you're doing one, you can't do the other. Awakening to all of this, as our ancestors were more awake to it, and some still are among us to show us the way, it's to come more fully alive to ourselves, right? And it's maybe the way to give the world a chance to come more fully alive too. Just as we are moved to protect loved ones and friends with their presence and power and personality that we are in wonder and adoration of and delight in, so too will we save nature when we work our way back increasingly from this industrial, modern dualism that increasingly invited us, forced us, encouraged us to see nature as a resource that was to be used and to focus our eyes back to a different way of seeing one another. Those who do, when we do, by choice, by discipline or accident, know when we do so in the moment even that it changes us, right? Robin Wall Kimmerer writes, I choose joy over despair, not because I have my head in the sand, but because joy is what the earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift. What does this mean practically? How do we start to do this? You can read Entangled Life, so you hear more about the wild world of fungi, if you haven't already. How many people have read Entangled Life? Oh, yeah, I mean, there's two of you who could lead the book group. We are so blessed to live in a part of the world where you can walk or hike in beauty in every direction. My husband and I note the flowering trees and bushes on our walk to BART, and recently we took a bet as we entered Jury Commons, which is this little one-block park that's built over former train tracks, a little mini park. We took a bet on how many different blooms would be there, and it was over 25. I lost the bet. But it was over-under, which I never think is really fair as a betting strategy. Do you ever walk and smell the night-blooming jasmine? I mean, this plant that's just dumping this perfumed air profligately into the night. It's such a metaphor for how we might be invited to live. These are some of the ways I'm trying to retrain myself to see and be awake to nature. Take a moment when you get your coffee today to go out into the courtyard, as cold as it is, and see and sit near the wisteria that's out there that's still blooming, which has this beautiful scent if you get close enough. Notice the gardens around the church. See the one over by the Star King sarcophagus and statue. It was redone in the last couple years with all native species. Thank you, Merrick Munn, for overseeing that, and thank you, Paul, for pointing it out. So if you want to help maintain the gardens, let us know too, as your spiritual practice. I know many of you have gardening as one of your spiritual practices. Dorkily, I started paying attention to my succulents, which I got because they're almost impossible to kill. And it's been fun to pay more attention to them. And I've even started taking care of these old orchids that I can't bear to throw away, though they haven't bloomed for years, and talking to them, and recently both bloomed. Kimmerer has all kinds of suggestions around the responsible harvest. One of them is use respectfully what you take, never waste what you've taken, share. That's awakening to relationship too. Farmers markets. We now have glasses, thanks to Deborah Baldwin and the Environmental Working Group. Some glasses that you can use for your coffee at social hour. And if you have an event, of course, use real dishes. We're constantly looking at how to reduce our carbon footprint here. We just installed a heat pump in the offices to try it and see if it works so we can swap out the old boiler. There's so many ways to keep being in this relationship and to awaken ourselves to the responsibilities. You know more than I do. But one last way I wanted to mention is poetry. It's one of the ways I think that I love to be in relationship to this reanimation process. Good poetry, I feel like, is one of the best vessels for seeing and capturing and communicating nature's personality, other than being in nature's presence. And so I thought I'd end this morning with a poem in this Sunday. That's the last Sunday of Poetry Month, too. It's a poem by my friend and colleague, Manish Mishra Marzetti. It's in a new book that he and another colleague, Nancy MacDonald Ladd, wrote entitled Seeds of a New Way. And it's about the urge to life that's in everything in us, in this world, powerful and gorgeous and vital, and worthy of our respect and love and stewardship. It's called Desert Flowers. Improbably, the wind-blown seed found its way here to a long, beautiful stretch of land, but one that was hot, dry, and arid. A spark of life resting in an unprepared desert. Quenching, life-giving sustenance, the rain comes and goes, even if infrequently, sometimes only a few drops at a time, and the seed begins to take root, possibility brought alive. But what life is this amidst the harshness? Pocket mice, rattlesnakes, camel spiders, danger and inhospitality lurking everywhere. One chance encounter gone wrong could bring death to the seedling. And yet, somehow, the intrinsic invitation to thrive, to flourish and grow, finds a way, even when it's a struggle. Poking gently up from the cracked, parched desert earth, a beautiful pink, 5-petaled phacelia blooms spectacularly, improbably. We are those wind-blown seeds. The universe is longing for life, for thriving, for beauty, even when it is against the odds. We are all part of this universe's longing for life and beauty against the odds, but we human beings can reduce the odds, or improve them. Is that the right way to say it? And, as Kimmerer writes, to love a place is not enough. We must find a way to heal it. The beauty of this particular work you and I are called to, Kimmer also reminds us, is that as we work to heal the earth, it heals us. We were meant to be alive to wonder, to relationship, connection, the magic of this world. This is what makes us happiest, not all the rest. So may we be blessed in the work of paying attention, of serving and reanimating our aliveness to the presence and power and personality of all life. May we be blessed to find and do what we can to serve, protect, and go easy on our siblings of plants, animals, fungus, water, soil, air. And may we be healed and reanimated ourselves by a life that is right-sized back into the relationship we were made for. Amen. We are going to close with a favorite that is actually hymn number 1064 in your teal hymnal. Let's rise as we're able, body and spirit, and sing together, Blue Boat Home.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the roaring ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never have I known the wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the horse is my blue boat home. Sun, my sun, moon, my lover, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in a beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upon me, and the great winds urging me on. Great sea, infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sad song. I was born upon the fathom, never have I port have I known the wide universe in the ocean I travel, and the horse is my blue boat home.
Hello, I'm Liz Strand, member of the Board of Trustees. And as worship ends today, we invite you to find other ways to connect and serve and live your values in this coming week. We are a democratic organization, and we vote on and determine the budget for this community as a group, This Sunday after church in the Thomas Starr King room at the end of the gallery, there will be a Q&A session, and you can find out more about the budget and ask questions. Please join us. And now I'd like to bring Reverend Laura up for an announcement.
Who likes the redwoods? Okay. Who likes to play games? Who likes to build community? Well, I've got a special place that you can join us at. At the end of May, we have our all-church retreat. It's the 24th, Saturday the 24th through the 26th. I believe I've got the dates right. The way you can register is in the back of your order of service. There's a little QR code there. We have generous scholarships if you're not able to make it. I hope you will join us. It's a lovely place. It's very casual. We get to build community. We get fed. We get beautiful earth around us, and lots of games and lots of fun. So please join us for that weekend.
Thank you, Laura. Now I'd like to invite Mark to the... Pause? Okay, so the budget Q&A is in the FAWS room, not the TSK. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Two quick things from me. I spend a lot of my time preparing music with the choir and services, but I also spend a little time managing expectations. And I'm talking more than musical ones here. When I say you will not want to miss what is going to happen in this space 1 week and 1 hour from right now, it's a bit of a scary thing to do. But I'm here now to say more than that. Our guest artist and her band will be turning the room upside down, offering up an energy and a style that we simply cannot reproduce, and you will not want to miss next week. Rita Lackey and her ensemble is one of the centerpieces of our season. Nancy Munn and I have been excited about this event, and we made certain to schedule the rest of the year around May 4th, their chosen date to perform here for you. 1:30 p.m. next Sunday, suggested donation of $20 at these doors, and just for church members, a simple lunch will be organized and provided. Second thing I wanted to mention, besides offering you special performances you shouldn't miss, the main reason for having a performance series is to bring new energy in the form of souls who appreciate good artistic expression and being in a space that supports having that as a part of our living. We would greatly appreciate the best PR available, your word of mouth. Even if you have little idea what Rita and friends will bring to this space, hopefully we have built up some trust with you, so when you hear the words, you will not want to miss next week, you too can feel some comfort in speaking them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And lastly, I'd like to announce that these lilies could come with you home today. There's a basket at the bottom of this left-hand lily group, and you can make a donation to the flower committee. So if you'd like one of these lilies, come and get it right after the service. Thank you. Bye.
If you water it, you'll live longer, too. Now we extinguish our chalice, but we carry the flame with us in our hearts, the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment, till we rekindle it together when we get together next week. Let's rise, embody our spirit, and join hands as we say our benediction. Bless one another into the week. And now in our comings and our goings, may the light of love shine upon us, out from within us. Be gracious unto us and grant us peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.